It is 12:54 on Friday, February 28th. Um, I know I just recorded, but I did say that tonight was going to be a long night. And I really just haven't been able to motivate to do any more work. I could study some kanji. I have 2 pages of homework for Japanese. I have a project that's due next Wednesday. I have a midterm next Thursday. And I have another homework for Algo that's due on Monday. But I guess those can all wait for this weekend, or at least some of them for tomorrow. Yeah, I can't be motivated right now. I'm so tired, yet I need to not go to sleep. I feel like I need to to regain some semblance of control over things right now. So I think for a little bit, everything was just a little too hectic, and everything was just happening around me. So I need a little bit of time where I am doing stuff myself. But there is something that I've wanted to talk about, and more to share this idea out loud for a bit. The 2 characters that I know that I want to include in the first game that I'll make is pretty basic. They're just 2 siblings, most likely brothers, and I want one of them to represent the idea of having skill, being like born with skill, and the other one to represent the idea of having talent. And I want to show that one can succeed enough with just one of those traits. But to be born with just skill, you cannot progress and seek to obtain new heights if you're content with what you have. And those born with just passion and the drive to create can only do as much as their body lets them. And so I kind of want that to be a duality, because I really do want this game to be a single player / 2-player game where if you play as one character, you'll go through the levels one way. If you play as another character, you go through another way, because the 2 have different sets of skills. And then if you play together, there's some co-op mechanic, and the story changes for each method that you go through. But that's not what I really want to talk about. Like, that's a little sneak peek of more of the ideas that I'll have. When I talk about the plot, I'll delve into that a little bit more. But I've always had this character idea, or fragment of an idea. And I feel like I've narrowed it down a good amount to what I want it to be. And I may have talked about this before, I actually don't remember, is that there's one game that I am set on creating when I am well enough off, that I have the money, I have the footing in a community, and I have a team that's years down the line. But I want it to be about my 3 other friends as we went to boarding school and as our journey through college. And it's kind of representing what we've done, what we've been through during that time. And each of us can hold a unique story, which I know can be molded in a way that will fit a video game setting. And what I want this game to be is that I want it to be an isekai. But I kind of want it to be more realistic in the sense of it's not an isekai where everybody wants to be transported away. I wanted the characters to feel like they've lost things if they're transported away. I want them to be representative of our college journeys, where one friend is stuck playing juniors hockey for much longer than he wanted to. One who wanted to play juniors hockey, but realized that that wasn't the path for him and went to college and is doing his own thing now. One that was thinking about playing junior hockey, but then decided to go to college immediately and is living it up and is doing probably more well off than the rest of us. And me, who always knew that he wanted to go to college and deflected the idea of going to juniors and rejecting it, thinking that it was the best for me to not do it, and it was. And getting here and going through some issues with isolation, specifically with the factor of having terrible roommates and struggling to re-enter a community socially after leaving one that I was in that was such a tight-knit one. And so I want these kind of stories to be kind of represented within this game of like one of them going through like the hardships of war as representing his junior's path. One of them kind of living his life and just being all not happy-go-lucky, but doing the things that make sense in the society. I want one of them to enter somewhere and change his personality and change the way he was and having a hard time reflecting on that, I guess. And I want my story to be about figuring out how to live in a new area, how to be somewhere new with new skills, new abilities, and figuring out and navigating that and the emotional and mental toll that making mistakes in that environment takes, and taking risks and all that. And I know it may seem a little selfish to want to make a game that's about yourself, but I feel like a lot of people understand that it's kind of a dream to think about yourself as a main character. But I always want these things to be kind of the way Octopath Traveler works, where there's 4 main characters. But I want it to be as if you choose one, then you're that one for the entire time. And, or at least for a very long set of time. And there's a lot more things I want to tell about the story, I guess, right now. It's going to be a long talk, but I feel like I need it right now. The characters will be my friend who's 6'7", absolute beast of a man, and is going to be the strong, like, barbarian brute type as you see in a lot of video games. I want one to be the charisma-esque type. I want one to be the more defense-esque type, like the one that would always carry a shield, I guess. And then mine would be the magic kind of academia type that's more into the strategic side of things. I always think of Log Horizon in the main character in that show, where not necessarily the best fighter, but the understanding of tactics and what to do, but then I also want mine to be more of the magic academia sense because that aligns with my college progression. And I want there to be a change when they get isekai'd or have a signature ability. For the 6'5", 6'6", 6'7" friend, whatever I said before, I want him to become like a half giant and gain the average attributes of that race within the isekai world. One of them I want to have, there's a joke that we go around as the Riz glasses, where he had these clear framed blue light glasses that he would wear, and it was always a joke because he would always talk to girls with them on. And I want that to be kind of like a charisma item, and I want him to have that as his change. One of them, who I think is still trying to be an aerospace engineer, do rocket science, is more of the engineering type, and I want him to be able to combine weapons, kind of the way that I think it's the inventors in Octopath Traveler 2. And then mine, I have 2 things that I have in mind. One of them would be because I have a coding background. I kind of think I would be interesting to have the ability to create and meld different spells, same along the lines of how that one will be able to create different weapons and attacks and such. But I want there also to be, before I actually talk about this second ability, there needs to be a unique mechanic within this game. I don't want it to just be Octopath Traveler because that's the kind of the game I'm basing it off in my mind. I think there should be not an anxiety meter, but like a mental stability, I guess. Is that if your character does something that they deem incorrect or wrong, and you force them to do something that they disagree with the character you're playing as, the meter goes down, and as it goes down, your stats are decreased or something along those lines. And because I want this game to be so much about the content, about the conflict and the action as much as it's about the characters and trying to navigate their lives within a new world. And so I want this meter or something along the lines to be a reminder of some things. Maybe it could only just be on my character, because I have this idea. I'll talk about it at the end. I really want to talk about it at the end. But that will be very integral to one of his innate abilities. But along the lines of the story, I do want it to start in the boarding school that we were at. And I want it to be a good amount of time within that boarding school to talk about it's be the tutorial-esque era. Maybe tutorial to chapter 1, where you're learning what the game is about, the dynamics of a fight, how to interact with people, and how the basic gameplay will be within classes and managing your life alongside of battles in academia and social networks. And I know that because we all played hockey together, that it would be the battle settings would be hockey games or practices, and along those lines, and you can show the attributes, the one who will have the best defense is the goalie, the one that has the best offense is the 6'5" guy because he's a massive dude and can check you to oblivion. And I do want them to be diverse enough character profiles. I know that I said more defense, more offense, charisma, and then I would say I would have the most endurance as it comes to more of how I am as a person when it comes to playing hockey. It's maybe not less so that I had the most endurance, but I guess I would have the most persistence and stability within that sense. And then I would, I hate to be braggy, but I would say I would have the most intelligent stats with the defense guy, the aerospace engineering one, have the second most. And I don't want to take away from my friends because we're all smart, very smart. But there needs to be enough character disparity within, or attribute disparity, so that the characters are unique enough. And so there's basic attributes that I know that I will be there, and some others that I would tweak. But I feel I also want to have this fortitude stat, this mental fortitude. I talked about that, where it's something that affects the statuses of characters, and some may go down faster. And if it hits 0, maybe something happens. Some may go down, maybe longer. It takes longer to go down, but once it hits, it's more detrimental than before, or another character. I have the idea of something along those lines to create an interesting gameplay loop of thinking all right, so do I want to attack this guy? Because if I attack this guy, it's only a 50% chance, and if I miss, it will go down this much. And if I'm already low enough that if I hit 0, then I know that my defense will go down significantly, or something like that. And I know that we used to do movie nights in rooms more TV show nights. We would watch an episode almost every night in my friend's room. And I know that's where I want them to be isekai. And I know the order. The order would be my character, the one who's playing juniors currently, the one who decided not to play juniors and go right to school, and the one who played juniors for 1 year. That would be the order. And I want at least maybe my character, or maybe all of them, to not know that they got all isekai'd. Maybe the 3 previous see everything happen, like, oh, we're going to the same place, but my character, since it's the first one, doesn't know. And, okay, this is where I can talk about the character that I have come up with. 15 minutes in, and I'm just getting to what I really initially wanted to talk about. But I have been so innately fascinated with the idea of putting on a mask and becoming more powerful. Or like, there's a like putting on a mask and then it becomes like you're more powerful in the fire aspect or something like that. And so I have this idea where instead of just, oh, I put it on and I become in attack mode, I want it to be connected to the emotions of the character. And I've always been interested in this idea where changing the type of mask you wear would change the emotion that the character is feeling. But I think that gets a little weird in the context of a video game. I think it would be kind of cool in the context of a D&D character, but I don't know much about that either. But what I want it to be is that I want my character to get into an area, and I've talked about how I deal with anxiety a little bit, and I want that special ability to when like the anxiety is at peak or the mental fortitude stat hits 0, the character kind of explodes. That he's like, I have been in situations where if I take too much anxiety, then I essentially explode with emotion. And that's how I get everything out, because I keep it in a lot of the time. And so I want that to be where, like, not necessarily like explode, but like become ultra powerful, but it hurts everybody, good and bad guys. And I want the idea that I get isekai'd in first, and I don't know that where my friends are, and I'm like told like, oh yeah, you're never going to see them again, and everything becomes too much and I just explode. And then what I want the progression to be is that for some reason, like something happens with maybe development or in response to what my character did, and now I have these masks that take in magical power. And I think I want my magical power within the game to be closely related to emotions. And so what I want it to be is that I want to have a mask for each emotion, like angry, sad, happy, like something that's green, something like empathetic, or something along with the emotions that go, like fear would be another one, like go with certain powers, like happy is light, anger is fire, sad is water, kind of pretty conventional like power and like magic types. But I want those to be connected in a way. And what I want to happen is that the character can store the power, like the power from the emotion and the magical energy into the mask. And then when he puts the mask on, that attribute becomes more powerful. But the catch is that I want it to be so that if you choose to start powering up your anger, your fire mask, you sacrifice your anger emotion. Like you can no longer be mad or angry because you're putting every single feeling of that that feeling into the magical energy of the mask. And so I want there to be a really interesting dynamic with choosing the right emotion for the next fight, but balancing it with your actual social times so that you don't accidentally pick happy and then go to a party and then you can't be happy and everything is wrong. Or something has happened to your friend and you need to be sad for them, but you've sacrificed sad and you can't be. And I want there to be kind of like this social commentary about deciding what emotion to pick, because I feel like sometimes me as a person not necessarily chooses the wrong emotion, but I will say that sometimes I don't interpret what's going on correctly. And that usually has come down to just me not saying anything at all or not doing anything at all because I don't want to be wrong. And I want that to be that part of the character. And I also want there to be a backup. Like, if you sacrificed Happy, but you really don't want this moment to go to waste, you can put on the mask and you would feel that emotion for that time until that magical energy runs out. But everybody else around you recognizes that what you're kind of faking it a little bit. But they understand the premise. And I really want there to be like a character, like, plot narrative point with this power where it's you're going through the day and you have to choose and make the right choices, and sometimes you make the wrong choices and you sacrifice the power that you've gained for that day or to please other people, or are you wearing it and people will be mad because you're faking your emotion at this current moment. And I want there to be the story to kind of revolve around that in some manner. And I also think it might be a little bit interesting to maybe, but it would be like if today was a really sad day, you would gain more power than if a day was just a normal day. And so you have to sacrifice it accordingly. Or you just got to be a little bit lucky. But I want that idea of planning that character. And then there's also the quote-unquote black mask, which I want to be representation of anxiety. And that mask is always on. Because the character never wants to feel that emotion, ever. But every so often, if you've let it build up for too long, that it becomes full and kind of the same thing happens, like that it becomes unstable, then you have to wear it and let all that emotion out. And you can maybe put it on before it gets full and kind of suffer the consequences, or you wait that time out and use that as your trump card against an enemy. When you put it on, you go just absolutely berserk. And so I really like this idea of a character because I think it fits so well into the stories I'm trying to create with this as a representation of the four of us. And I think that represents me as a person so well that I think it would be really cool to use. The other three characters I'm still working on a little bit. The one with the charisma, I think I just want it to be a happy story. I don't want there to be like innate trauma or like difficult decisions, maybe as my story goes. But I kind of want his just to be more happy and slice of life-esque and just the typical isekai thing. He's still sad that he can't see his friends, but recognizes that there will be a time to meet again and just needs to live his life for now until he gets back. I want the one that is about the engineering thing to be essentially a commentary of being a product of your own environment. Is that he came from a spot where he was a student and all this, and now is in a place where he's kind of corrupted almost in a way. And it's talking about that and him understanding, is this what I want to be? Is this who I am? And things like that. And I want his to maybe be a little bit about morality as well, where the idea of like he wants to be aerospace, where even the two districts of aerospace are either the military-industrial complex or research. And I kind of want to do a dual like that of morality of like passion and advancement over profit and like the morality consequences of choosing something like that. And the fourth one, I want it to just be about sacrificing yourself to do what you want to do. Taking the moments to put yourself through danger and put yourself through hardships to then be able to achieve what you want, and coping with the idea of maybe you're going too far, maybe you're not doing enough, and something along those lines to parallel his story so far. And there are a bunch of other ideas, like how I wanted them to meet up again, where it's like I want the ones who went to juniors get sent to a military kingdom and be put into that area as the one. And the two of us that went straight to university, I want to be put into like an academic scenario when they get isekai'd instead of a military one. And maybe the way they meet up is that one of the kingdoms sends a trading convoy to another one, and they see each other for a glimpse of a moment, and they're like, "You're here," and then something happens. And that's all I can see as of now, is I can see the setup. I don't know what the generic RPG element would be along the lines of the final boss and the end of the story. I know exactly how the ending will be. I want the ending to be some way that we defeat whatever we need to defeat. And the portal to go home is opened, but it needs somebody to stay to open it up and keep it open. And I want the three of my friends, to then go on back to the world, and I am forced to stay. I know I want the last lines to be, "You have done everything for me, so let me do something for you." And I want that to be there. And I also know that I want Athoro to be the one to make music for this, and I specifically want a lot of the songs from his sketchbook album. I know Windmill Festival would be a great one, and I 100% know that I want Sketchbook as the ending song, because I think it is beautifully written in this, and is beautiful, the idea of being stuck between two different worlds and having to deal with the fact that you're away, but your memories are still there with each other, and you get to be able to be happy about it, but also sad that time is spent apart. And I very much so want that to be the ending song. And maybe there will be a post-time or a post-game where the goal of the three people is to then try and come back. And maybe so they come back and everything is fine and normal. Maybe they come back and my character is an old man. Maybe they come back and my character is already dead because time has passed so much. And because, like, I know that I want some Hollow Heart lyrics to be in there somewhere. I low-key might want to put it on my tombstone if I go down the route of dying as they come back. But these are just ideas that I've come up with for one game that is so far into the future that maybe I won't even remember some of the details that I wanted to put in by the time it happens. Maybe it won't even happen at all. Probably won't even happen. But the reason I'm telling you this, and the reason that I want it to be so closely related to my stories and our stories, is because I don't share things a lot. I don't go out and talk about what I'm feeling as much as I probably should. Parallel with the anxiety mask, I kind of let it build up. My hockey friend is pushing himself way too far. One friend is drinking way too much. One friend is just fine. We all have our problems, and we all just kind of deal with them. For me, I want to talk about them, not so that I can just talk about it, but I think a lot of other people have the same problems that I have. And the problem that I have is a situation in itself where I don't feel comfortable sharing it as much. And I found that when it comes to video games and art itself, music, drawings, videos almost, and video games, I feel incredibly comfortable telling my stories. I feel comfortable telling the emotions that I'm having and the situations that I'm in. And I want to be able to tell those stories. And currently, the way I am right now, I don't like talking about them. But music and art and other forms of media isn't me talking about them. It's just the story being told. While it may come from me, it's not me saying it anymore. It's the game saying it. It's the music saying it. And if I'm able to make these, I feel like I'll be able to say stuff that I don't feel comfortable saying to a lot of people, to say into the world, to say to strangers. That's why I want a game to be about me. That's why when I create games, I want them to be about personal anecdotes, personal stories, personal troubles, and things that I've gone through. I want them to be about the people that I've met so far. I want them to be about my friends. Because I feel like this is the way of telling things, of telling stories that I really, really want to tell.